Hey guys, my name is Calvin Crow. I am coming to you from my backyard. I did my report on the horror of teen suicide. Tell you, years ago I joined the Marine Corps. I was still in high school, still a senior, and before I graduated, I went and signed up to join the Marines. And when I graduated and I went to MEPS in New Orleans to sign up, I wound up reciting an oath to protect the American people. And at 18 years old, I was very serious about the oath that I took, and really wanted to care for people and protect people, and spent 6 years in the Marine Corps. And it's interesting, though, I didn't really get a lot of the grasp of what that meant until I became born again. And when I was about 20 years old, I came to Christ. And then about 3 years later, was in the ministry. And I wound up coming across a family who had a young lady in their family who was contemplating suicide. And so I was early on thrust into this horrific moment in time where I was face to face with something that was very scary to me. And I went from being someone who was had a lot of pride in being a protector of people to not really knowing not really knowing what to do about it. So in doing this research and digging up some of the things that I've learned that I'm going to share with you today, I just wanted to show you real quick, though, my backyard. We have 6 children, 3 still at home, 3 are grown and live in the New Orleans area. We have all kind of ways to give our kids opportunities to get outside and enjoy themselves and to play and have fun and be children. The funny thing about right now, as I panned around, you can see the emptiness of my backyard. Everybody's inside, nobody's out here. And just standing out here a moment ago, I was just thinking about how awful it is for a family who had children, and maybe their child grew up like any other child, bouncing on the trampoline, swinging on the swings, splashing around in the pool when it was warm. And now maybe they go outside to this awful memory because they've encountered something like suicide. Maybe their teenager committed suicide. And just as I dug into this research, I came across some surprising information. I can't imagine a worse thing for a family to encounter. Our children are supposed to be our future. I remember a song way back that that was the message. Our children are our future, and we should teach them well and let them lead the way. I think it's part of the lyrics. Don't remember exactly who sang it or what year it was. Been a while. Some of you young folks probably won't remember the song. But when all of that is cut off, but not cut off by some tragedy of a car accident or something other than, their choice, this young person chose to take their life, it puts the family in such an awful, not just for that moment, but there's no closure to that, because the person that would have given closure is no longer there. And all the pieces that we can put together are, for the most part, subjection. We have to look at the possibility of what went wrong, but we often don't have definitive answers. But what I really learned, I think more than anything, as I went through this research, was the fact that we've encountered a spike in the last 10, 15 years in teen suicides. And part of my paper was called The Social Devastation. Teen suicide's always been awful. It's always been a thing. I mean, it goes back to biblical times. It's historic. People feel hopeless. They feel like they're in a place where they have no hope. They have no tomorrow. And young people are in such a vulnerable place anyway, when they're in that preteen and teen stage, when they're changing and life is big and the world can be awful scary out there. And depending on what's going on around them, it can be very overwhelming. But when the internet came about, it provided a different thing for us. For humanity, the internet provided a real-time connection for everyone. No matter who you are or what you want to get involved with, what you want to see, what you want to encounter, the connection is real-time and the connection is worldwide. And so these teenagers that used to have to figure out how to swim in their peer group, they there was a certain pecking order. I mean, there's movies made about it. All of us have gone through school, and we know that there's the popular kids, the kids that are considered nerdy or whatever, and there's all these different gangs or groups or sects or whatever you want to call them of people, and there's always this pecking order. When you have in the past, we always had a close-knit connection to that community, and that community could oftentimes sort itself out. And so though suicide was a real thing and always horrific, there's never been a time where suicide's been less horrific. But with the addition of the internet into our society, it has created a social difference in the way that children are no longer just trying to figure out how to function within their own community's peer group. Now you have the whole world of internet that there's competition with. So a person that is already steeped in hopelessness and almost feeling like they don't matter is going to be posted up against this beast of a world that's out there at the click of their fingers. And they don't even always have to go out there. There's people that can infiltrate your presence with text messages and videos and all these things that are right in front of our teens' faces. And I think often we don't know what's going on. There's been this idea lately that we should allow children to be free to do what they want and experience life and all these kind of things. And in finding all of that to be the case, and finding the internet to have projected the numbers of or propelled rather the numbers of teen suicides exponentially, the question has to be asked, what do we do about it? Do we continue to be hands-off with our teenagers? Do we continue to allow life to bring them to this hopelessness where at the end of the day we're sweeping up after this event rather than heading it off? And so just at the end of the day, I believe that there's a number of things that we can do, that we can really do to make a difference. Number one, I think that we need to be involved. There are many ways that we can be involved. Mentorship seems to almost have gone away with the close-knit community. You don't see a lot of mentor relationships in local churches anymore, where older folks take younger folks out fishing or out doing this or doing that. And I think that being aware of what's going on in our teens' lives is important. But not only being aware and doing things like that, but also paying close attention. I know that reading people is something that a lot of people think that they're good at, but oftentimes teens are hard to read because they hide well. And so it starts obviously with the family, and as our families pay attention to each other, we have the opportunity to move forward in trying to head off this thing. But as society grows and as this internet, the internet can be good, and I don't want to propose the idea that the internet's all bad. I'm not proposing that, because there's an awful lot of good about it. We can have food delivered right to our door. We can encourage and pray for, and just in the last year, we've had sermons going out all over the world. Almost every church is posting their messages, their services on Facebook Live and different things like that. So there's an awful lot of good that is being done through the same technology that has also posed the problem. And so as a church, and I think that it's important that we function as a church. And as a church, it's important that we engage our community, that we engage well. Ultimately, without any reservation, I believe that we can really stem the tide by being the church. And I say that with all love and compassion, but I feel like we sometimes miss the boat on evangelism and outreach. Not that we don't go and try to share the gospel and save people, but our outreach tends to be just that. You know, we go out, we share the gospel, we hope this person gets saved, and we present an opportunity for them to go to a church here or there, and then often people just get left without. But the Bible says that the disciples were told to go and make disciples, learners, relationships that grow, that people are involved with, that we slow down our time frame, that we pause our lives for people who are struggling. And the only way we find the people who are struggling is if we were willing to pause for anybody. If we will be interruptible. The most amazing thing about Jesus is that he was interruptible. We often see in the Bible where someone comes up to Jesus. I'm reminded of the story of the man that comes, his daughter's dying, and he comes and gets Jesus. And in the process of time, while Jesus is going on the way to follow this man to his house because his daughter's dying, this woman makes her way through the crowd and touches Jesus' garment, and he stops. He allows himself to be interrupted for that woman whose faith healed her, and then he went on his way and continued and healed the young lady. And so I think that we should be very interruptible, and I think that if we do that, then we can help stem the tide at this growing horrific thing of teen suicide. I want to read this verse in Matthew 4:19. Jesus tells Peter and Andrew, he says, "Follow me and I will make you fishers of men." There is an attention and methodology involved in fishing that would be no less employed when we reach out for not only teens, but all people with the love of Jesus. When we reach out, when we fish intentionally, methodically, and with all of our heart and soul, we can make a difference. Love you. God bless you.